One of the most contentious moments of the night at the Republican debate was probably the confrontation between Chris Christie and Rand Paul over their ideological differences on national security and, in particular, illegal spying. Let's watch.
I will make no apologies ever for protecting the lives and the safety of the American people. We have to give more tools to our folks to be able to do that, not fewer, and then trust those people and oversee them.
I want to collect more records from terrorists, but less records from innocent Americans. The Fourth Amendment was what we fought the revolution over.
That's a completely ridiculous answer. I want to collect more records from terrorists, but less records from other people. How are you supposed to know, Megan?
Use the Fourth Amendment.
How are you supposed
Use
to?
the Fourth
No, I'll
Amendment.
tell you how you
get a warrant.
Let me tell you something.
Get a judge to sign
when
a warrant.
Senator.
Wait, Governor Christie, make your point.
Listen, Senator, when you're sitting in a subcommittee just blowing hot air about this, you can say things like that.
You fundamentally misunderstand the Bill of Rights. Every time you did a case, you got a warrant from a judge. I'm talking about searches without warrants, indiscriminately of all Americans' records, and that's what I fought to end. I don't trust President Obama with our records. I know you gave him a big hug, and if you want to give him a big hug again, go right ahead.
And those had nothing to do with politics, unlike what you're doing by cutting speeches on the floor of the Senate, then putting them on the internet within a half an hour to raise money for your campaign.
All right.
That got a little bit heated there.
Yeah, that was like watching an NCAA tournament play-in game between Iona and UTEP. Like, it goes to triple overtime, and it's exciting, but they're not going to win the tournament.
Yeah, that's probably true, too. I don't think Christie, it wasn't like he gave a poor defense for how what he was doing or what he proposes doing was constitutional. He didn't give any defense. He effectively was saying, you don't understand how inconvenient the Constitution is on the ground, and so I'm going to disregard it. That was his entire argument.
Yeah, that was Rand Paul's finest moment in the debate.
Agree.
And again, the critical thing for these guys, one of the reasons why Donald Trump is working so well, one, slamming political correctness is a win, especially in a Republican primary. It's a win for the vast swath of Americans who are being polled in this debate, but do not like politics, have contempt for it, and hate politicians. He does not appear, clearly, Donald Trump, to be a politician. So what Rand Paul and Chris Christie had was a little of that in them. The Chris Christie, we know, can be a bully. He can make an argument that he tells it like it is, even if he's not telling it like it is. He has the appearance of someone who's telling it like it is. And he's like, and to some extent, his physique helps him. Like, I don't care, man. I'm like you.
Yeah.
I eat donuts and I'm an ass.
You're right.
You're
right.
And Rand Paul has this, libertarian streak that has served him well. And he gave a good answer here, although Christie, I think he finished fairly strong, although I'm not sure that was his full finish, because at one point, he did finish that thing that we had in there where he says at the end that you're just trying to cut videos and put them on the internet to raise money. That's true. And I thought that landed a little bit. But overall, I thought that was what was great about Rand Paul. And so Christie, who wanted to get into a fight, in that sense, I think ended up picking a fight with the wrong guy.
And can I just say, Rand Paul made strong points there. He should have made them more poetically. He should have his stump speech ready.
I agree.
And he should have it at the end that makes people go, yes, America! And he doesn't. It just seemed like kind of a mean attack at Chris Christie. Yeah. You're defending the Fourth Amendment, but you have to do it poetically.
Yeah,
right?
that's right. That's right.
And he's not doing it poetically. And he's not doing it with a flourish. He doesn't get people excited. He needs to get a little
He seemed kind of shitty.
Yeah.
He seemed a little whiny.
Yeah.
I agree that I think he won that. I think it was his finest moment, but I think he needs far more of that.
Yeah. He should have said something like maybe, a society willing to sacrifice its liberty for freedom deserves something like that. He didn't say that.
But here's the problem with that.
He should have said, you're that guy. You're the guy we were warned about.
Well, he's right. That is 100% right. He could have said that, but he can't say that, or he won't say that. And I think one of the reasons that his sort of argument that he was making there doesn't give him as much of a boost with the people who are listening is I don't think they care anymore. Protect the Fourth Amendment. No, they're scared. They're really scared. And I don't think they care about the Second Amendment, and they'll occasionally bring up the First. Other than that, they don't really care. They'll say they're still the party of the Constitution, but they are 100% willing to rip it up because they're terrified of Muslims.
Right, but he can do both. You can give the answer, the poetic answer that Jimmy wants. By the way, the thing I was searching for there, Christie actually at the end of that debate said when he talked about hugging, he was like, the hugs I remember are the hugs of the 9/11.
Oh, God.
That was painful. That was very painful. So that's why Christie lost that. But I think that Paul can make that point, that he can reassure them about security and make that point. Yeah. And that's where he failed. And so let's go to that next clip.
That's a good point, yeah.
Because here's where you saw that was as good as it got for Rand Paul. And it wasn't even that great. As Jimmy said, there was not enough poetry in it. But then also, when asked about ISIS, Brett Baer and his shiny teeth asked Randy about earlier comments that the GOP, the hawks in the GOP, had for a generation caused this crisis in the Middle East with our interventionist bombing. It is a very reasonable point for someone to make, but instead of being aggressive and Rand Paul making that point and going, yeah, we caused a lot of it. Now it's incumbent on me when I get elected president to go out there and kill these guys. I'm going to do it, but I'm not going to create the problem again. Like, we're going to finish it. We can't continue to do this. Yeah. We can't continue to do it. And instead, he just got manipulated and he sounds weak. Clip 7.
You recently blamed the rise of ISIS on Republican hawks. Now, you later said that statement, you could have said it better. But the statement went on, and you said, quote, everything they've talked about in foreign policy, they've been wrong for the last 20 years. Why are you so quick to blame your own party?
First of all, only ISIS is responsible for the terrorism. Only ISIS is responsible for the depravity. But we do have to examine, how are we going to defeat ISIS? I've got a proposal. I'm the leading voice in America for not arming the allies of ISIS. So we didn't create ISIS. ISIS created themselves, but we will stop them. And one of the ways we stop them is by not funding them and by not arming them.
He brought up the funding and the arming twice, and I've lost a great deal of the respect that I originally had for him when he made the first comment, because when he made it back in, I believe, March, it seemed to indicate that he understood that our actions in terms of invading Iraq and Afghanistan, destroying the political leadership there, killing possibly 100,000 or more civilians, that leads to the conditions in which an organization like ISIS becomes incredibly attractive to the people that we have basically destroyed their lives. But there, he just kept saying, we can't arm them, we can't fund them. That wasn't the principal reason that ISIS came about. It's not about handing out AK-47s.
Nobody's running an effort to fund ISIS.
Yes.
It's not a debate America's having. Yeah.
No, he seemed like he understood before, and now he's trying to prove. No, don't worry. I didn't learn anything from the Bush years. I know nothing about terrorism. Just I'll keep bombing them. I'm just not going to hand him. I'm not going to hand him a Glock.
All you have is yourself. All you can be is yourself. You can't out Jeb Bush. You can't out Scott Walker. You have a brand, Rand Paul, and he gave it away.
Yes.
He punted that brand.
Yeah, it's exactly right. You know, his father was willing to be booed at those debates, and Rand Paul's obviously not willing to be booed at those debates for giving us, his poll numbers could have went up had he maybe answered that honestly. He would have got integrity points. He gets nothing for that.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah, go down fighting with who you are if you're going to go down, and you're probably going to go down anyway.
But again, if you look at that question was, hey, why aren't you a good enough Republican? Why did you almost accidentally tell the truth? You know we don't fucking do that about foreign policy. You almost told the truth. Get back. And he's like, oh, no, I'm not telling the truth. I'm not telling the truth.
Trump and Paul, those are the guys who are the biggest threat to the establishment. Believe me, they can. The Fox News could live with John Kasich. They can certainly live with Scott Walker. They love Scott Walker. Lord knows they could live with Chris Christie.
Yeah.
Oh my God!
Who they don't want.
I don't think they love Christie.
Chris Christie is a darling of
Wall Street darling.
They asked Jeb Bush about his prior support for the war in Iraq, and Jeb basically indicated that now that we know what we know, he was stronger in denouncing the war than Rand Paul was. And he's a Bush.
That's right. But denouncing the war in Iraq is a freebie. Like they've all come around on that.
Yeah. But that's all that Rand Paul was saying. Yeah. Is invading a country like that, staying there, bombing them, killing their civilians. It's not random. It's not unexpected what result it has. It has this result. It's had it in multiple countries. We know that that's how Al-Qaeda began in Afghanistan. We know how that's how ISIS began. And Jeb Bush can admit something like that, but not Rand Paul.
And Rand Paul tucked his tail, and his biggest strength is that he's willing to tell the tough truths. He tucked his tail and ran, so now he's got nothing. What do you got to fucking run on?